Hey, fourth graders. Okay, so read aloud today, Encyclopedia Brown. There are a whole bunch more Encyclopedia Brown books too. So I was thinking I should look on Epic because maybe they have them on Epic. Anyway, so yesterday a handful of you joined me for our mystery. And if you joined me for the mystery live, I revealed the answer to the mystery. Then, okay, here it is. Solution to the case of the missing or the bank robber. So a lot of you made good predictions. Some of you didn't listen to it yet, and you have What I Need Wednesday tomorrow. So if you haven't listened to it yet, pause this video, go to yesterday's video, and listen to the bank robber one. So Blind Tom was not expecting any visitors, he said. He also said he had not had any visitors in a long time, yet the light in his room was on and a newspaper lay on the pillow. A blind man does not need a light, and he cannot read a newspaper. So Blind Tom was not blind at all. Encyclopedia knew then why the beggar had not stepped out of the way of the bank robber. The two men had rolled on the sidewalk together with a purpose to exchange yellow paper bags. Blind Tom had slipped the robber the bag holding the loaf of bread in order to fool the police if they caught him. The robber had slipped Blind Tom the bag holding the money. Encyclopedia used a telephone in the store on the corner to call his father. Chief Brown hurried to the hotel. He found the money still in the yellow paper bag hidden under the mattress of Blind Tom's bed. Blind Tom and the man and the police were holding in jail confessed that they had robbed the bank. Okay, today's mystery 5 is called The Case of the Happy Nephew. Okay. Be thinking about those clues. There's little details in there like the color of something they're holding, what they're wearing, the time of day, the year. Those are all things that you're listening to. Okay. The Browns are having leftover meatloaf for dinner one night when the telephone rang. Must be important, said Mrs. Brown. Otherwise, why would anyone call during the dinner hour? She hurried to the telephone. In a moment, she called to her husband. It's Officer Carlson, dear. Chief Brown went to the telephone and spoke with his officer for several minutes. When he returned to the dining room, he wore a frown and his gun. Oh, the Princess Bake Shop on Vine Street was robbed less than an hour ago, he said. I'll have to go out. Any clues, Dad? Asked Encyclopedia. We have an eyewitness, answered his father. A man passing the bakery said he saw John Abbott running out of the door. Hasn't John Abbott been in prison? Asked Mrs. Brown. 5 years ago, said Chief Brown, but he's gone straight ever since he came out. The eyewitness only got a quick look at the robber. He might be mistaken. Chief Brown shrugged. Still, I suppose I'll have to stop by and question John. I hope he has a good alibi. Can I go with you? Cried Encyclopedia. May I go with you? His mother said, and drink your milk first. May I go with Dad? Encyclopedia asked. Come along if you'd like, said his father, but you will have to stay in the car and be quiet. I'll be as quiet as a cat at a dog show, promised Encyclopedia. He sat quietly beside his father in the police car on the drive to the house where John Abbott lived with his sister and her family. Staying in the car won't be so bad, Encyclopedia decided. Car will be a lot closer to the case than in our dining room. On the west side of town, his father stopped the car. Here's the house. Encyclopedia saw a small white house in need of paint. An old yellow car stood on the shaded driveway. There's John, said Chief Brown. A tall young man had come out of the house. He was carrying a barefoot boy about 1.5 years old. Chief Brown reminded Encyclopedia to sit quietly in the car. Then he got out and walked towards John Abbott. Put the child down, John, Chief Brown called, and keep your hands where I can see them. John Abbott started to lower the barefoot baby onto the sharp stones of the gravel driveway. Then he changed his mind and put the child on the front fender of the yellow car and raised his hand. What's this all about, Chief? He asked. Robbery, replied Chief Brown. You were seen running out of the Princess Bake Shop on Vine Street about an hour ago. The door was broken and all the money in the cash register was stolen. John Abbott laughed. I wasn't near Vine Street an hour ago. Why, all day... Look out, shouted Chief Brown. He leapt for the baby. The child had climbed onto the hood of the yellow car. He smiled and gurgled happily. Suddenly, he stood up and walked close to the edge of the hood. Chief Brown caught him just as he started to fall off the car. "Ah, thanks, Chief," said John Abbott. "He's my nephew. I'll hold him." "No, I'll hold him," said Chief Brown. "Just tell me where you were today." "Anyone who says he saw me coming out of the Princess Bake Shop about an hour ago is either crazy or a liar," said John Abbott. "Can you prove you were somewhere else?" "I was miles away. Since 8 o'clock this morning, I've been driving this car. I drove down from Sundale Shores. I got here just 5 minutes before you came." Here's the picture of the baby almost falling. Chief Brown looked at his watch. You drove 600 miles in less than 12 hours, he said. Did you stop around 6 o'clock and talk to anyone? Someone we could check your story with? No, not around 6 o'clock, said John. I stopped for gas and a hamburger about 4:30. Then I drove straight through. I didn't break any speed limit, and I had nothing to do with any bake shop robbery. I'd like to think you're telling me the truth, said Chief Brown. I am. I've gone straight, believe me, said John Abbott. All right, said Chief Brown. I'll have to question the eyewitness who says he saw you. Maybe it will turn out he isn't sure. Chief Brown put the baby on John Abbott's arms and walked back to the police car. I heard and saw everything, Dad, said Encyclopedia. How come you didn't arrest him? Because he says he was driving from Sundale Shores when the robbery took place, answered Chief Brown. He got here just 5 minutes before we came. I can't prove he's lying, at least not yet. He slipped into the seat beside Encyclopedia and started the car. Listen to me, Leroy, he said. Our eyewitness may have made a mistake. He may have seen a man who only looked like John Abbott. A good police officer doesn't put people in jail without more proof than that. I believe the witness, said Encyclopedia. John Abbott didn't just drive in from Sundale Shores in that old yellow car. I can prove it. I can prove he didn't. What was the proof? Okay, so Encyclopedia is saying that he believes the witness, that it was John Abbott who committed the crime. So I want you to think, what do you think the evidence would be that against John Abbott? That's what you're going to put.